So last week, a few weeks ago, I recorded a podcast on HRV, or reducing stress using HRV, so heart rate variability. And something that came up was breath work, because breath work is so commonly prescribed as a mechanism for improving your HRV. So increasing your HRV, increasing your heart rate variability, stimulating that parasympathetic nervous system, and basically just helping to reduce the effects of chronic stress over time. Now, if you haven't listened to that episode, definitely give it a listen, because you'll have a lot more context for using this video. And the more context you have, the more likely it is that you're going to engage with a lot of these health behaviors. And they do take effort, but it's like a lot of the time we express like wanting to be healthier or wanting to, whatever it might be, drop body fat, have better skin, have whatever, insert whatever preference you have for your health. Now, we often think about, how we should eat healthier or do more workouts. Rarely do I think we give enough attention to this idea of recovery and rest. So I wanted to create this, and actually had a bunch of requests from you guys asking me, sorry, I'm like wandering around because I'm actually trying to pack up so that I can go and do next week's podcast. So I'm heading down to the podcast studio to do it now. But basically today, what we're going to do is go through breathing anatomy, why it's important, why maybe some of the breath practices that you've been doing have not been having the effect that they should have because of the postural positioning that you've been in while you've been undertaking them. If you've never ever been on this video before, then welcome to this video. If you've never been at this channel, then welcome to this channel. You absolutely need to be subscribing because, for several reasons. One of them is that I make sure that all of my content is educational. I've been a PT and a yoga teacher for nearly 15 years, and I have almost finished my psychology degree. And I integrate all of these practices that I've learned both through experience and then also study into what I create in terms of my programs and also what I create in terms of any of the content that I release. So it is worthwhile hitting that bell and hitting that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on quality, educational, evidence-based information and content. Without further ado, we have to get on with the anatomy. So let's do this.
All right, in a second, we're going to do a breathing exercise together. But before we do, I wanted to run you guys through the anatomy of breathing and breath work. Because if you understand the anatomy of how the breath actually works in your body, it makes sense, some of the adjustments and some of the things that I talk about in the sequence, but also it helps motivate you to do the actual practice.
Every moment of our lives, a crucial process unfolds within us, and it enables life itself. Breathing. But to understand this marvel, we really do have to delve into the anatomy behind it. Look, it's a little bit dry, but I promise that through understanding this part, right, you're going to improve your capacity to critically evaluate whether your breathing practice is really doing what you think it's doing. Our chest cavity is structured by the rib cage, which consists of 12 pairs of ribs. Now, these ribs arch around the sides of the chest, connected in the front to the sternum, right? Or the breastbone. And in the back, they're connected to the vertebral column, so our spine. Now, several muscles contribute to this intricate dance of breathing. The external intercostal muscles situated between the ribs assist in elevating the ribs and expanding the chest cavity. That's during, obviously, inhalation. Now, in contrast, the internal intercostal muscles help to decrease the cavity's volume during exhalation. So those ribs coming down and in. Now, up in the neck, the scalene muscles aid in lifting the upper ribs during a deep inhalation. So when we're really taking that breath in, you can kind of feel like the scalene is contracting. Now, I want you to think about what happens when you spend 8 hours a day or more like this. Now, I'm not saying you need to necessarily fix your posture, but it's worth being mindful of the position that you constantly find yourself in, and then start to think about, okay, how might that be having a bi-directional effect on my breathing and my stress levels? So if we're constantly like this, and then we try and do this, not going to be great. Let's go back to anatomy because we've got to cover the diaphragm. Central to this process is the beautiful diaphragm, a a large dome-shaped kind of muscle that separates the chest from the abdomen, right? And as it contracts, the diaphragm flattens and increases the volume of the chest cavity, drawing air into the lungs. Remember, the intercostals are pulling out, diaphragm is flattening. Conversely, when it relaxes, the cavity volume decreases, pushing that air out, and those intercostals are kind of contracting, the internal ones, right? Now, the diaphragm is anchored securely in place. It attaches to the lumbar vertebra at the back, the lower ribs on the side, and the xiphoid process at the front of the sternum, right? Here, in front. What then would be the implications of having chronically flared ribs, feeling like you need to stick your chest up and pull your shoulders down and back, right? So in this position, how good's my breathing gonna be? What about breast surgery and all the scar tissue that can occur around here that maybe doesn't cause such a smooth function of these muscles? Now, I'm not saying this to scare you, but simply to draw your attention to the fact that your flexibility and movement in this area is going to be incredibly important, as is your rib cage positioning, particularly when you're performing your breath work. But think about yoga, like we perform breath work all throughout, right? Breathing, while an involuntary action for most of our lives, is a very complex interplay of bones and muscles. It's beautiful. Each breath we take is truly a testament to the intricate design and function of our body's anatomy. With every inhalation and exhalation, I would really love you to remember the remarkable system that's working tirelessly within, enabling this very essence of life. And we're going to use that as motivation while we get on with the stretch and the release of the thoracic area, as well as the neck and shoulders, so that we can start to work towards some breathing exercises designed to stimulate the sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system, my apologies, to get you nice and relaxed. So without further ado, let's get stretchy and serene.
Let's go ahead and come to lie down on our left side. Place your left arm forward, place your right arm on top of that left arm, and bend your right knee. Now, as you can see here, I like to place something underneath my knee just to keep my hips a little bit more neutral. This is a good option regardless of whether you are pregnant or not. Now, from here, we're going to take a deep breath in, reach that right arm as far forward as you can, so reaching out of the hips. And then we're going to draw a semicircle up and around as we inhale. And just gently exhale into the twist. We're going to inhale, come forward again, reaching that arm forward, and semicircle up and around, exhaling. If you are pregnant, you're obviously being very gentle of how deep that twist is going. So I'm keeping this a very easy, open twist. Inhale, reaching forward. The most important part as you extend that arm up is actually getting length and opening through the lat. So we want to try to release the lat here and then just open into a gentle twist. Beautiful. Come back to center and we'll make our way over to the other side. So now you're going to roll onto your right side, move your cushions or your bolster or anything that you have underneath the knee. This time your left knee, right leg is straight. Reach that left arm as far forward as you can. And then from there, we want to draw the biggest semicircle we possibly can with our fingertips, inhaling up and around, exhaling into the twist. Inhale, reaching forward, up and around, exhaling into the twist. Last one, inhale, reach it forward, up, and opening out into the twist. Beautiful. Bring yourself back to center. Hug the knees into the chest If you're able to lie on your back, great. I can't, so I'm going to push myself up. And we're all going to meet in cat-cow. So come into an all-fours position. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Take the knees hip distance apart. Hands are shoulder distance apart. You're going to drop the belly down, lift up through the head and the hips, arching the back, open up through the chest here. And then exhale, feel yourself push the floor away and feel your ribs pull in as you exhale, coming into that cat position, dropping the head down. Inhale, arch the back, moving back into the cow position, opening up through the chest, letting your belly relax, taking that breath in. And then exhale, feeling the rib cage. I really want to draw your attention to the rib cage this whole time. Good. Take one more round of cat-cow. Really accentuate the exhalation here and pause in this position. We want to stretch out through the back of the neck, the back of the body. Bring the feet together and push the knees out wide, pushing into child's pose. Now make quite a lot of space for your belly if you need to, but also, regardless, I do want you to really feel like you can melt into this, open into the hips a little bit, but still be in a rounded position. Now, I want your forehead to be connected to something so that the back of the neck can relax. If you don't feel comfortable putting your head on the floor, you can stack your hands and rest your head onto the back of your hands. Now, just tune in for a second here. Pay attention to any tension that you have in your jaw, in your hips, in your inner thighs. Make any adjustments you need to so that all of your attention can come to the back of the ribs. We're going to take a deep breath in and feel the back body expand here. Inhaling, really stretching into the back. And then exhale, melt down. Inhale, feel the back of the ribs expand. Exhale, watch them, notice them as they move through that exhalation. Inhale. Think about your intercostals and what they're doing to open up the ribs. And then exhale, what's happening to the diaphragm, the intercostals. As you change that air pressure, you push that air out. Good, we're going to walk our hands around to the right and stretch out of the left hip here. So just walk around, lengthen, and reach that left arm. And then come back to center. And we'll take it to the other direction, reaching out of the hip. And then come back to center. Beautiful. Let's pull ourselves forward into an all-fours position. We're going to thread that left arm all the way through the right side and come into what's known as thread the needle. So again, I just want to feel like we're getting a stretch through the upper back, through the thoracic. If your pelvis moves over to one side when you're in this position, then you're not going to get the best stretch that you possibly can in the isolated area that we're trying to stretch in. So I need you to think about shifting the pelvis so that it remains straight and stable. So we want to think about the hips staying square and then moving our pelvis moving out thoracic in a different direction. Then we'll come back to center and we'll take the other direction. So the right arm is going to thread through the left side. And then just think about really keeping those hips square as you move. Naturally, your hips are going to want to go over to the left. So you want to just push them over to the right as you reach that right arm through. Beautiful. And we'll come back to center. Okay, so now we're going to make our way into a seated position. And I just want you to come into a comfortable seated position. If you want to sit on a chair, you're very welcome to if you feel more comfortable there. If your hips are too tight, you are going to feel like it's somewhat distracting from the breathing practice, and so we don't want that. Wherever you've chosen to sit, we're just going to take some neck cars, so controlled articular rotations, or just really isolating this stretch through the neck. So from here, sitting up tall, you're just going to drop the chin towards the chest. And as though you're drawing a circle with your chin, you're going to take your chin around to the left collarbone. And then we're going to drop the ear to the left shoulder. And then now we draw a semicircle with our chin. So from there, you're going to drop your head back and we're going to move up and around with the chin until our right ear finds our right shoulder. Drop the chin down to the right collarbone and then bring the head back down to center. And then we'll move in the other direction. Right collarbone, ear, and then starting to move back around. So just do this in your own time, but do it consciously, do it very gently. Notice where you're carrying tension. And in addition to this, I want you to really pay attention to how much more the rest of your body moves to facilitate you doing this particular stretch or this articulation of the joint. Ideally, we want to be able to isolate just this neck area. So if you find that your body is moving all over the place while you stretch your neck, I want you to think about trying to keep it as still as possible so that we can get into those scalenes in the neck, so that we can start to release tension in those areas, stretching and lengthening and having more awareness in the neck. Beautiful. Let's come back to center. Sitting up nice and tall. Okay. So now we're going to round forward. You're going to take your feet out in front of you and I want you to slouch, like really slouch. Drop the chin down so the chin drops down towards the chest. You're going to rest your arms over your legs here and just slouch. Now we're going to take a deep breath in. Now this time when you breathe in, I want you to think about spreading through the back, almost like you wanted the back to touch the wall behind you as you breathe in. And then as you exhale, I want you to stay in that position. So feel the front of your ribs as you exhale really contract back, almost like you want the front of the ribs to also touch the back wall. Inhale, try to stretch the back of the ribs towards the back wall. Exhale, front ribs come down and they try to meet your back ribs. This time, reach your arms forward on this next exhalation as you inhale, like you're reaching out to give someone a hug, reaching out to touch the wall in front of you, and then keep your hands there. Exhale, front ribs try to touch your back ribs. Beautiful. So we've got lots of awareness in our back, and this is what I want. So let's come to sit in a fairly neutral position here. And you're going to take the right hand down to the right side. We have one more kind of breath prep position. Take that left arm up and over and reach over to the side so that you get a side stretch here. Now I want you to pay attention to the side ribs. So imagine that you had no use of the right lung and you could only breathe through the left. So I want you to take an inhale in and feel the side ribs expand. On that left side, really feel like you're breathing in through there, and then exhale, deepen into the stretch. Just watch that your left hip doesn't come off the floor. Push your hands off, come back up to center. Take a moment here just to sit neutral. And then we'll go ahead and take the right arm up and over, reaching. Inhale, really feel like you're trying to breathe air in through your armpit, through the right armpit, right rib cage, left rib cage not working. And exhale, stretch deeper, keeping that right hip on the floor, and then we'll bring ourselves all the way back up, okay? So we have a 360-degree awareness of our rib cage. This is beautiful. This is going to really pay off in this breathing exercise. Come into a comfortable position for you, for your hips, for your body. Again, I want to remind you that it is totally okay to sit in a chair for breathing exercises. In fact, I encourage it if you are feeling like it's tough to sit on the floor. If you're fine and you're comfortable here on the floor and you want to challenge that, that's okay. We're going to bring our hands to the lower front ribs. I want you to close your eyes, relax your shoulders as best as possible. This exercise that we're doing is also known as the yogic breath, or full yogic breathing. And normally it's instructed with belly breathing, so like bringing the belly up and down and up and down. But as we know, the belly doesn't have a lot to do with the diaphragm, and the rib cage has much more. So we're going to do this awareness exercise of the different areas of our ribs to really get this full yogic breath happening. So hands are at the base of the ribs. You're going to take a deep breath in and feel the lower ribs expand into your hands. I just want you to feel those lower ribs. Exhale, feel the ribs come back together. Inhale, ribs expand, particularly the base. Exhale, feel the ribs come back together. Really feel those ribs drop. We're going to move the hands up to the upper chest. Now you can either have your hands crossed over, or you can just have right hand, right upper chest, left hand, left upper chest. Inhale, take the breath in. I still want you to feel the lower ribs open up. Then we're going to take the breath into the upper chest. We're going to pause. From there, the ribs are going to come down first, and the upper chest is going to start to fall. Okay, so inhale, lower ribs expand, upper ribs expand. Exhale, lower ribs. But feel in your hands those upper ribs start to come down. Beautiful. Place your hands down by your side, resting on your lap, palms up, palms down. I don't mind. This time, inhale, lower ribs expand. Upper chest starts to lift, but most importantly, I want you to feel the back ribs expand outward. Exhale, lower ribs, upper chest, and back of the ribs. Relax. So now we're going to let it all just kind of happen at the same time. Inhale. Exhale. Now, if you've noticed I've had a little bit of a restriction at the back of the throat, please feel free to do that. Ujjayi breath, I will talk more about it in future episodes, but slight restriction at the back of the throat. Beautiful. I'm going to stop guiding you through your breath practice for a moment. I want you to focus on continuing, but really extend that exhalation. So we're going to inhale for a minimum of 3 to 5 seconds and exhale for double that inhalation. So if you inhale for 3, you're going to exhale for 6. Get comfortable. Close your eyes if they're not closed already. We're going to start that now. So exhale completely. And let's go. Inhale. Count in your mind. I'll let you know when we're done. This is where, Makami, you're going to insert 3 minutes of music so that the breath can continue. And then I'll finish up. Okay, beautiful. So make sure you take your time coming out of this sequence. When you're ready, you can gently crack the eyes open and just pause for a moment. Just take a moment to feel the effects of the practice. Thank you so much for joining me with this practice and this education on the breath. If you enjoyed it and you like what I'm about, here's a final reminder to subscribe, to hit that bell, and to check out my podcast and my programs. I'll link them below. I'll see you again soon.